Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today to talk about one of our favorite topics, certainly onboarding, especially on the heels of HCI's Talent Pulse research that came out on onboarding just recently. So if you haven't had a chance to read through that research yet, we'll give you a few key trends here during our time together. On one of the very first pages of the report, the authors share that onboarding at most organizations focuses on paperwork and process rather than the more important elements of people, culture, and performance. So I guess it's not that surprising to hear that, especially since there's a good chance that all of its popularity today, onboarding as a very big buzzword in our industry and new hire orientation, there's a lot of opportunity around that. So I guess some of these stats, again, are not surprising. The report includes a lot of great stats. So 74% of respondents said that onboarding practices have been underutilized in their organizations, and about only half of respondents think their onboarding program speeds up time to proficiency in new hires. About 40% say their onboarding program is effective in retaining new hires. So there's a good mix of interesting trends in there. So we're going to hear about Protiviti, which is one organization that's really hitting great strides in their reimagined and re-energized onboarding program, especially as it pertains to new hire orientation, so that first part of onboarding. And some of the other trends that we'll discuss really do fall into that report as well. They focus on the people and the culture part of onboarding, and also how onboarding programs make new hires feel. So is it that warm welcome that they desire? Is it creating a lasting positive first impression of the organization they've joined? Do they stay excited after experiencing it? Do they feel like, okay, I made the right decision to come and work here and build my career here? So that's particularly important for the very first part of onboarding, that new hire orientation. So these were important questions for Michelle and Jessica at Protiviti too, as we were all embarking on this initiative to revitalize their new hire orientation. So Michelle, I'll turn it over to you first for some comments. When we first started working together, we all talked about how important it was to create an onboarding experience that had that wow factor, creating wonderful memories. And that's also a tenet of Protiviti and certainly applies to your new hire orientation. So can you share with us just a few comments on why that was important to you and your team and some context for that welcome?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Sarah. You're so right. As you mentioned, creating lasting positive memories is a central element of our service strategy with both our clients and our people. And that's definitely a goal of the design that we focused on as our part of our onboarding program. We truly wanted this experience to be a memorable start to a successful career with our company that would really reinforce that they made the right choice to join our team, that would truly engage and excite them, help them learn about our strategy and culture, position them for success, within their career, and that shows them that Protiviti is a great place to work.
Great. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks, Michelle. So to sum up, we extracted some of these key elements of successful onboarding, both from this report and our experience in this, and also that really focusing on some of the key things that we've learned with working with clients like Protiviti. So other than creating that lasting positive first impression that Michelle just talked about, we also strive to do this, and by this I mean new hire orientation and the entire onboarding experience with as much consistency as possible. So that's consistency of an experience across departments, roles, and geographies. A lot of global organizations really have to focus on that, no matter where the new hire might be coming in. Having that consistent approach is really powerful. Certainly, we also want to focus on the people connection, as Michelle said, and the introduction of organizational culture. We also want to tie some themes to performance so they understand how they can be successful in their role right out of the gate. And lastly, as Michelle said, we really don't want to forget the impact that a warm welcome, a celebration, that excitement, all of those things create a really powerful start. All right, so when organizations reach out to us at Paradigm Learning, it's usually because they've recognized a need for some kind of revamp in their onboarding or new hire orientation. Maybe the beginning, that needs a new start, it needs some more consistency, Or it might be something that they're looking to build from the ground up or completely rebuild in many cases. Sometimes it's also because they've identified a gap in an existing program based on some kind of certain metric. Maybe it's attrition, maybe it's something else, or they've seen some kind of concerning trend in their new hires as they're getting up to speed. So that could be ramp up time, that could be less than desirable feedback on employee surveys. All of these things can lead to some sort of action to take on revamping, building, or filling a gap in onboarding. So what we know at Paradigm Learning, our methodology has always been about experiential, and in this case, discovery learning. So we want to create an interactive and memorable experience for all those involved, and providing content through this fun, interactive framework that's very highly relevant and impactful for the audiences. It's adult learning after all, so if it's not useful and immediately applicable to their roles, the value of it is not going to be as high. It has to have all of these elements. So when it applies to new hire orientation, we find that the most successful onboarding approaches include these ingredients. So an immersion into the organization's culture. So that includes becoming familiar with the organizational strategies, goals, the vision of the organization, its mission, its values, and most importantly, not only understanding them, but becoming aligned to them, seeing how they can contribute to all of these pieces. We also support, at least for some key part of new hire orientation, an in-person session. So this can be supplemented, certainly, or bookended by online components. We realize that the logistics involved in global companies getting employees together can be challenging. But the reason for this is that new employees really need that human interaction to connect with the organization and one another. If we think about it, an organization's strength rests in its people. We say that all the time. And part of empowering them right out of the gate and aligning them to the organization's direction is to provide an experience where they can bond with other employees, make friends, and they're brand new. And hopefully they learn together with robust discussion, interaction. They start to appreciate the other talent in the room and in the organization, and they can start to literally see how they fit into the bigger picture. So those are some key ingredients that we found to lead to successful new hire orientation. Our point of view encourages all those components. And another part of that is big picture understanding, not only seeing how they fit into the organization, this is certainly key, but getting to that realization can really be achieved if they understand the business of the business. So that, what I mean by that is how we work with customers, how the company makes money, how we pride ourselves on doing business, our brand, what it stands for, all of those components. And then from there, we can take deeper dives into how the company is organized, how departments are interrelated or interdependent on one another, how they overlap, how we all work together toward these common goals. So all of that big picture understanding not only helps new hires connect the dots, see how they fit in, but it also makes them smarter employees. Think about it. If they start to think like business owners, they'll make better decisions, they'll spend budgets more wisely, and they'll immediately start to tie their actions to how they're impacting the bottom line, how they're contributing to success. So the way we do this can vary. But for the most part, the way we go about it is synthesizing those ingredients of success into a flexible structure. So we hone this structure in close collaboration with our clients. This is a custom solution when we create it, and we always work very closely with our partners in this. So this is only one part, again, of an onboarding program. We're really focusing in this particular example that I'm going to talk about, we're focusing on that new hire orientation. So what's happening right up front? Certainly, onboarding programs, they can span, in many cases, months, a year, sometimes more. And Protiviti has a great example of how they've built that into not only their new hire orientation, but into their full onboarding spectrum. So that'll be really exciting for you to hear about in a few minutes. So essentially what you're looking at on the slide here is this framework that we create for this new hire orientation piece. Starts with an interactive activity, again, something to convey the culture, the vision, the mission, and an overview of the organization so they get grounded in that big picture, what it looks like. Then we like to turn to a game-based approach or some kind of interactive experience to explore the business structure. How does it make money? How do we work with customers? All of those things. Get them acclimated to here's how business success happens at this organization. Then we also realize there's a lot of other content to include in new hire orientation. HR benefits, logistics, processes, technology, getting set up on some basic things. So the way we incorporate that is with breakout sessions. We also realize that you can see those little circles on the end there, the pre and the post. We realize that some kind of setup session can prepare new hires for what to expect and get them excited. That, we mean that with that pre little bubble over there. And then we also strongly encourage some kind of post-session reinforcement. So that's the post bubble on the other side. And with that, we like to encourage something that extends the learning, drives desired actions back on the job, and again, can link what they've learned to how they're getting started in that role. What's the performance? How are they going to measure their own success? So just to give you some examples of all these different pieces in the framework I've just covered, we have a couple of slides here just to paint that picture for you. So one example of a culture activity. This is what it might look like. You have a team sitting around a table. It can be very team-based, exploring the concepts at hand through a variety of materials and guided discussion. Again, we want it to be consistent across all of the different roles and people that are going through this. And we really want this to be focused on culture. Why? Well, it's often something a new employee figures out over time. With an activity, though, that immediately when they join helps them explore the organization's culture, they can start to understand its mission, vision, values, and behaviors that lead to success. All that time figuring out the culture on their own and getting behind the mission and becoming aligned, often learning through trial and error of what it takes to be successful or to, really contribute to their team, that can be accomplished in a much more efficient, consistent, and upfront, welcoming, memorable, meaningful way. When I talk about the business of the business, here's an example of what a solution like that might look like. So similarly, by exploring the business of the business right away, employees can see how they fit into the big picture of the organization, how they can personally contribute to its success, and how they can make smart decisions that align to those organizational goals. It can also give them some context for how they can work with internal and external clients and stakeholders to start to achieve that success right away. So it's much faster than if they were left to figure all of this out on their own. It really helps them get their bearings and get started. So again, while we do believe, at least in some part of new hire orientation being in person, we also do know how successful virtual programs can be too. So especially when paired with a pre and post session, maybe that's a virtual component, new hires can come to their onboarding in-person part excited and knowing what to expect. They can feel prepared, and they can leave their new hire orientation with some actionable information to get them ramped up faster and to stay connected to the organization's goals. So you're probably tired of hearing me talk, and I'm going to turn it over to Jessica at this point to talk through her experience building out their onboarding program, really new hire orientation at Protiviti.
All right, thank you, Sarah. So first, I just wanted to start by telling everyone on the phone a little bit about Protiviti. We're a global business consulting and internal audit firm comprised of experts who specialize in risk, advisory, and transaction services. We help our clients solve problems in finance and transactions, operations, technology, litigation, governance, risk, and compliance. So globally, we have more than 70 locations. We have over 3,800 professionals. We serve 60% of the Fortune 1000 and 35% of the Fortune Global 500 companies, something we continue to grow and are very proud of. And also for the last 2 years, we've been listed in Fortune Magazine's Best Companies to Work For. In fact, in this last year, we were the largest climber on the list and moving up from 100 to number 57.
So let's talk a little bit more about why redesigning an onboarding program was so important to us. As we were growing, we do hire a large number of experienced hires each year, and we found that we were having issues integrating these experienced hires into our firm. And as a result of this, our attrition rates in the first year were high, much higher than we wanted them to be. This was resulting in a large direct and indirect cost to the company, and as you can imagine, it had a negative impact on our project teams. So, and we were reviewing the reasons for our high turnover. We discovered that 25% of our first-year leavers were actually exiting due to a lack of professional development. That particular piece there is what we believe that we could fix through improved onboarding. So despite our company growth, we actually looked at our onboarding program. It had really not evolved from our early days. Across the country, we were at the time conducting a one-day PowerPoint intensive orientation program focused on heavy administration topics and include little or no pre- and post-employee communications. We found that we actually had 11 different orientation models in play across the country, and even those 11 were highly inconsistent. The content, the delivery, the method, and the impact varied widely across our offices. We knew it was a major issue that needed to be addressed. So with that, Michelle, can I turn it over to you to talk to everyone a little bit about how we describe our project goals?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jessica. So in designing our onboarding program, we really, as we've mentioned already, set out to create a memorable integration experience that really starts when a new hire accepts their employment offer and continues with them and supports them throughout their first year, ending with their first-year anniversary with the firm. At the beginning of the project, we set out to maintain the following project goals, which we still use to measure success. We wanted to build engagement and excitement with our new hires from their first experience through their post-offer. We wanted to prepare our new hires for success by sustaining their learning opportunities throughout the first year and really equipping them with the knowledge and skills that they would need for success. We wanted to focus on decreasing first-year attrition. We wanted our new hires to be enculturated, to learn about our strategy, our people, our clients, and our work. And we did this by providing a variety of learning types of learning experiences. We also wanted to personalize that experience and create integration programs that would really meet individual needs. And we wanted to provide our operations team with the ability to measure new hire success through compliance and engagement measures and using some helpful survey tools and reporting methods. So with these goals in mind, we researched onboarding tools and learning vendors who we believed could assist us in really developing a world-class onboarding program. And as a result, we partnered with Paradigm Learning to assist us in designing and building what is now our Passport to Protiviti program. So with these goals in mind, I'll turn it back over to you, Jessica, to talk about our approach.
Okay, great, thanks. As Michelle had said earlier, integration at Protiviti consists of a structured year-long program. So our integration experience today begins when the new hire receives their employment offer from our recruiting team. So from that moment, within a day, the new hire receives a welcome to Protiviti email from that recruiting lead. The welcome email introduces them to who will ultimately be their integration lead, so someone in our HR team, and also gives the new hire access to an onboarding portal that we use. The onboarding portal is an online platform. It drives the new hire experience all the way from the pre-hire, so that first moment when they go into it, all the way through their first year anniversary with the firm. The new hire's first experience with the tool is through what we call a new hire portal. And so in that portal, now this is before they've even started with us, they can go in and see various information. We think it's going to be helpful to the new hire, including a welcome video from our CEO, details about their upcoming passport session, and guidance on our benefits and other frequently asked new hire questions. Throughout the new hire's first year with Protiviti, they're going to continue to use that portal to go back to that for important information. And that portal is also what will house, ultimately, a personalized integration program, which we're going to discuss in a little bit more detail later. So the next point, once the new hire actually starts with us, the next critical point in their integration is their actual first day with us. So the first day is where they start with their 2-day Passport to Protiviti program that Sarah alluded to earlier. They attend Passport in one of our centralized orientation locations. So despite wherever they start in the U.S., they'll come to a centralized location. The 2-day passport program begins with a power opening that's actually led by one of our executives who welcomes the new hires, introduces them to Protiviti, and introduces them to our passport program. The day continues with an in-person discovery of Protiviti using the gamification concepts we talked about earlier, where they learn about our history, our strategy, our culture, and the people of Protiviti. They typically work in teams of 4 to discover Protiviti and to learn how they can contribute and to ultimately start building relationships. During the 2-day program, the new hires continue to work in teams, completing our interactive culture activity, and also the business of the business game, and learning more about the way we work through various breakout sessions. These breakout sessions include sessions with residence experts, ranging from finance to benefits professionals to panel discussions with our employees. To keep the fun and energy up, each passport session includes theme-based snacks and a group dinner where the new hires mingle with Protiviti employees, starting their immersion into our culture. At the conclusion of passport, the new hire heads back to their local office to attend local office orientation. It's here during this session that the new hire meets with key people in their office, is introduced to their 3 advisors, is introduced to their integration lead and other key operations support employees who will help them throughout their career. It's also at this juncture that the new hire gains an understanding of how things work at their home base. So throughout the rest of the new hire's first year, the new hire will use our onboarding tool, the onboarding platform that we talked about earlier. They're going to complete various tasks within their integration program. And these integration tasks are going to guide the new hire through their online trainings, networking activities, and remind them of important check-ins that they have with their advisors and their integration leads. I'd like to hand it over to Michelle to talk a little bit more about the development process we went through to actually design passports.
Sure, Jess. So in thinking about the development process, our first step was really to define and quantify our problem, which we mentioned earlier was really the retention of our experienced new hires. With this problem in mind, a small group of us worked together to strategize on how we can improve. And we defined our learning needs for our experienced hires and held feedback sessions with our experienced hires and key business leaders to really understand the gaps that we were seeing. We formulated and took our problem statement and our initial solution to our leadership team to get their buy-in and funding. With our leader support, we started searching for partners. As we mentioned, we were really pleased to find alignment in our goals with Paradigm, and we have engaged them to assist us in the design of our program, which is called Passport. Our small Protiviti team worked really closely with the Paradigm team of designers, project leaders, and relationship managers to bring our program from an idea to implementation. We worked together over the course of about 4 months to do the heaviest part of the design, and then pass the materials on to Paradigm Learning's in-house graphic designers. And the result was a really exciting, visually appealing, sleek, and consistent Protiviti-branded solution. Paradigm Learning also provided branded imagery, such as the PowerPoint materials and other collateral that are part of the program, to really link together the themes and experience of the Passport program. So now that we've talked about development, let's talk a little bit about the finished product. And on the screen, you should see the culture activity, which is a component of the framework that Sarah shared and that Jessica also described. So after the senior leader kicks off the session, participants experience a 90-minute activity that really helps them learn about our strategy and culture and quickly connect to those ideas. Participants work in teams, and they take turn reading cards, which help them through the various activities on the map. And they explore through a fully illustrated visual metaphor, and they uncover elements of our culture and our strategy. And they begin to interact with each other, as well as focusing on learning about our client and people promises, our values, our mission, and our organizational structure. So the culture component is the first piece. And the second piece is our game. So let's talk about that and take a closer look. So after the culture activity and a breakout session, the session transitions into the Protiviti game, which really gives our new hires an opportunity to more deeply explore how the business of Protiviti works. The game covers topics such as how we make money, how our consultants interact with our clients using our methodologies and tools, and how consultants can be successful early in their career by displaying certain behaviors, reaching out for collaboration across teams, and accessing resources that will help them integrate quickly. Again, the participants are working in teams while they're executing this learning activity and really exploring Protiviti. The game includes competitive elements, which are always fun between teams, point scoring. We have a theme related to travel, so we have some trivia about international cities that they visit along the way, and some other elements that make this experience highly engaging and memorable. The third key element of our 2-day onboarding program are breakout sessions, which are interwoven throughout the experience between the activities we've described. Throughout the 2 days, new hires participate in both the discovery map and in various sessions of the game. And in between, we have these breakout sessions which cover topics that are relevant to day-to-day life topics at Protiviti. Some examples include a session on technology at Protiviti, a panel discussion with some of our existing professionals who share stories about their career and answer questions that our new team members may have. And while many of these sessions are a little bit more content heavy, the feedback has been that new hires really appreciate this first look into what makes Protiviti work. So after hearing about our program, I'll ask you, Jessica, if you wouldn't mind to summarize some of our results.
Great, thank you. Well, the good news is that after all this work, we're indeed pleased with the initial results of our Passport program. We are coming up almost on our year of having this program implemented. Our business is very excited about the program, and we actually have the support to roll this program both out to our campus hires, which we've actually just completed our pilot for that and had great results. And we're also getting ready to start rolling this out to our global audiences today, because today this is a North America solution for us. When reviewing our initial success metrics, we believe that we've created a program that meets the learning needs of our organization, but also delivers it in what's a new and innovative manner for us. Our integration programs and the active involvement of our advisor teams keep our new hires close, well after they walk out of that initial 2-day Passport session. So after orientation, we feel that we have a great way to stay connected to them. We do have plans to continuously grow and improve this integration experience. Ideas in the future include dedicating an integration lead to our executive new hires to make sure that we really have a white glove approach. We'd like to introduce even more enhanced gamification elements into our integration programs. And we also want to continue enhancing our pre-hire portal to include even more rich content. So with that section on Protiviti, I'll turn it back to Sarah to wrap up.
Great, thank you, Jess. So in a nutshell, we hope we've given you some ideas today. Certainly a lot of different ways that you can go about any kind of transforming onboarding, whether it's something that's filling a gap, as we discussed, or revamping something that's existing, or building something totally new. So especially on the heels of this fabulous research from HCI about new hire orientation, we really see a lot of success from the things that they're highlighting in that report and the things that you've heard about from Protiviti today from Jessica and Michelle. So there really are so many different opportunities to recharge and reimagine your onboarding, either as a long piece, a year-long program, a 6-month program, or if you're really just looking to stimulate some new creativity and create that welcome and excitement in that first piece, that new hire orientation, what they get right when they come into the organization. So with that in mind, we can certainly turn it to Q&A. Do we have any questions that we can answer for you?
Well, thank you so much, Sarah and Jessica and Michelle. This was a really fantastic presentation. I loved the format and being able to sort of see the concept, but then also see it in practice. And so on behalf of our members, I thank you for sharing that with us today. I'll give out the call to Q&A to our members. If you'd like to have a question asked on the air, type it into that chat box, and we'll get our expert panel to weigh in on it. So let's start us off first and foremost with a question from Christine. And so Christine says, I would love if Michelle or Jessica could disclose any metrics that they may have used to measure the quality of hire and timeline in order to help them understand a little bit where some of those onboarding gaps were. So is there anything that you might be able to share, Michelle or Jessica, as to some of the things that you had either pre or post the Passport program?
This is Jessica. I can take that. I think our biggest driver and what we used as our problem statement to get the investment to move this forward was truly that retention of our first-year leavers. So we did measure how many people we were losing in their first year with us, because tenure is a big metric that we track overall as a firm. So we were measuring that first-year attrition. We did tie that back to salaries to try to figure out how much we thought that was actually costing the firm when we were losing those people in that quick time frame. So that was definitely what we used as our problem statement, and we are continuing to measure that now. Now, I just alluded to that we're kind of getting to our first year anniversary of Passport, and so naturally I don't have all the stats yet. A problem with this metric is it does take a while to have people on board long enough to leave you soon enough to frankly get the measurements. But that is something that we will be keeping a very close eye on. Other things that we measure, that we are measuring is Passport attendance. Before we started our new Passport program, we actually had a hard time getting people to start their new hires on consistent start dates. So making sure that we actually put 100% of our people through Passport has been an important driver for us. We are happy to say that we have been able to achieve that. One of our goals was having a program that was so good that people would never think of not sending their people to it. So that is something we're also tracking. We're also doing some surveying of our new hires to make sure that we feel that we're getting them good advisor relationships, that they're having good support from their integration lead and their operations teams. Of course, we're making changes to the program as well as the integration program as we see fit. And of course, the cost of the programs is another measurement. As you can tell, we've got people starting all over the country, yet we are sending people to 2 centralized locations for orientation. So measuring cost per hire, we did make some changes there where we changed our orientation locations in order to get those into lower cost areas. So while we did roll this out and we did do a pilot program, we've definitely been making changes along the way to make it more and more cost effective.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Really good stuff. So another question here comes from Rick, and so Rick wants to know if you have incorporated any senior management involvement personally in the onboarding. Is there any place where the leaders of the organization might make an appearance as it relates to these onboarding programs?
Sure, absolutely. This is Michelle. I'll take that one. So in the design of the program, on day one, as we mentioned when we kick off the Passport to Protiviti experience in person, we start with what we call a power opener. This is always someone who is a senior leader who is at our top leadership ranks. Often they are leaders of a geography or an aspect of the business. And it's a really great way for our new hires to really begin to see the commitment that our leadership team has to development. So our leaders participate in every program. In their opener, they share perspectives briefly about the firm, but they also make a point to make that personal connection so that they can begin to meet the team members, share a little bit about themselves and their background so that they can begin to develop those relationships. And that power opener also includes a fun activity just to get to break the ice a little bit and get to know each other a little bit more as we begin this exciting experience. So we definitely incorporating our leaders in that way, as well as throughout the development experience that occurs over that first year. It's definitely learning and development is definitely a big focus in our culture, and our leaders are committed to that, and they participate in our learning programs along each of those milestones that our new hires experience throughout their learning journey.
Excellent. So I can always tell when our participants are really interested in this topic, and one of the telltale signs is when we start getting questions about particulars. And so if you don't mind, I've got a couple of questions here from our attendees that want to know a little bit more in detail about some of the things. So we'll start with Kay Parker, who asks, how many participants are typically in the orientation? What size are we talking about here?
So this is Michelle again. We have 2 versions of the program that we're currently executing. So for our experienced hires, these are individuals who are joining us throughout the year who have had 1 or more relevant work experiences and who are coming to us as an experienced hire. We conduct those on average around every 2 weeks, and we would say have an average number of participants can range, but could be from 16 up to 30, depending on the time of year or the need. We also conduct a campus version of this program for our new employees who are joining us from campus. These are larger groups, so in those programs we may have up to, say, 100, and we conduct those at the relevant points throughout our year.
Okay, so another question from someone on our call asks, how many advisors do you have, and what are their formal roles within the company? Who are some of the chief stakeholders of the Passport program?
Okay. This is Jessica. I can take the advisors. So we actually take a 3-pronged approach to our advisors. So we have 3 different levels. So the first is a peer advisor. Peer advisor is, as you would guess, to the experienced hire, someone who is at their level. So this could be even someone who's an experienced consultant with us, all the way up to a peer advisor could be a managing director for a new managing director hire. So that spans every single level that we have could actually be a peer advisor. Our next and very important role is our career advisors. Your career advisor is your person who is going to be at least a level, probably 2 levels ahead of you, and is going to be the person who's going to walk you through your career checkpoints, who's going to check in how you're doing, is going to work with you to set your goals, is going to deliver feedback to you on various project evaluations, and how you're kind of set up to move forward within the company. You would typically go to your career advisor with questions, concerns about your overall career. And that third role is your executive advisor. The executive advisor is a director or a managing director within the company who meets with, especially our younger people, a bit less often, but does meet with them and really gives them an overarching understanding of what their role is in the greater Protiviti. Where is Protiviti going from a strategic perspective, and kind of where do we see their home in that? So there's 3 different prongs there, as we've mentioned, that have all 3 distinct different roles. And we also have sponsoring managing directors, which are managing directors who are bringing in some of our very senior hires, such as our directors and managing directors, and making sure that they integrate fully within the role.
Fantastic. That sounds like a very nice blend. A lot of diverse perspectives being brought to the table. I think that's fantastic. Another question. This one comes in. Let me see if I can. Well, let's start with this. So, Cheryl asks, "This is a great program, but I'm curious if you might share how it could be downsized so that it would work for a small company with really only one person owning the orientation process. Is there any advice that you might give for someone in that circumstance?"
This is Sarah. I can take that. We've built a lot of different types of onboarding and new hire orientation programs for various sizes of companies, and this is, certainly, as I said in the beginning, the way that we work with them, they're always a custom solution that's really tailored to the organization's needs. So in order to downsize something like that, you could do a number of things. You could have some kind of, you could still create the same kind of materials and the same kind of topics or themes, but it could be done in a way, this is designed as a team-based activity where with the competition that we currently have built in, it requires you to have a couple of tables of people in the room at the same time. With a slightly different design, you could have it be an activity that someone could go through individually or with, one-on-one with a session leader who might, be the person in the organization to own the program. Or you could create it so that, it's scalable. You could have some kind of interactive activity like the ones that we've shown you that just don't have that sense of competition built into them where it requires a certain number of people. So it can still be something wrapped around those key messages where it's something that's consistent. Everyone's getting the same kind of content that they're digesting and exploring and interacting with, but it can be scaled down from the perspective of not needing to have a certain number of tables or, people in the room. So it can, just with some alterations of the design considerations, you can do that. You could also do it with a virtual solution that, all of our programs that we've shown you today can be virtualized as well. So, or digitized, I guess I should say. And they can be done, again, in small groups, remotely, where you have a session leader leading a discussion with a couple people at a time, or you might have someone experience it asynchronously, individually on their own, on demand. There's a lot of different things that you can do. It also just depends on some of the things that you want to achieve with your program.
Thank you, Sarah. Here's a question from Leo. Leo asks, for the 2-day program, do you wait until you have a number of new hires before scheduling this? And if so, does a new hire have to wait a bit before their scheduled 2-day session starts and therefore maybe sitting in limbo a little bit within their onboarding experience? Again, just another example of one of our members wanting to try to wrap their heads around some of the logistics of a program like this. So if you could talk us through maybe how you might solve for something like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's actually something we spent quite a bit of time with as well. So Michelle and I are here on the phone today as part of our project team, but the other person who's not on the phone is actually our head of recruitment. And so we worked very closely with the head of recruitment and have our hiring plan, of course, laid out for the next year. And we do design our start dates, or our passport dates, if you will, around times of the year where we know that our hiring is historically higher, or we know that we're going to have a forum. So we do schedule our passport dates typically every 2 weeks because of the numbers of hires that we've done. We are able to run a passport session with as few as I would say 6 people, but frankly, as we've alluded to, we've had much bigger groups than that, but we can scale it down. If we do find that we don't have a lot of new hires, we will cancel that, but for the most part, we've been running those every couple of weeks and have not had to hold people.
Excellent. Here's a question from Patty. Talk to us a little bit about how you handle post follow-up with the new employees. What's that process like?
Okay, this is Jessica. I can take that one again. So post follow-up, a few different ways that we go at that. As people are assigned through our onboarding portal, we do send out reminders to various people on our operations team as well as to our advisors that they need to be meeting with, new hire so-and-so. So they'll get the reminder to do that, and they'll also get basically within their notification some more information on what they should talk to the new hire about to make sure that we're driving a meaningful and engaging conversation for them. So that's one thing that will happen. These same reminders also go to our new hires. So we don't put all of this on our existing people. We do think it is also the new hire's responsibility to manage their own career. And so we encourage them to also reach out to their advisors and their operations support team to make sure that they're getting what they need from people. We do also, through our onboarding portal, we'll track engagement by making sure that people are completing their integration task, meaning are they taking some of those specific new hire trainings that we've personalized for them and want to make sure that they're completing. So as they complete those tasks, we can kind of say, okay, they seem to be on track. That's probably a good engagement sign. If we see that someone's not completing any of their tasks, we need to make sure that we check in with them and understand if they're just really busy or if there's something else going on there as well. So I guess through those scheduled check-ins, and those are scheduled through that first year, that's a really important way for us to make sure we stay connected.
Okay, excellent. So another question, this one is from Carrie, And Carrie wants to know, how do you schedule new employees when they're coming from different departments? Are you doing anything intentional to sort of create any homogenous job family or anything like that, or does sort of culture trump role and responsibility when it comes to the initiation process?
Right, great question. So our program is designed for all new hires, regardless of their role. So everyone participates in Passport to Protiviti. We're really focusing from an experience perspective on our culture and our strategy, which really everyone needs to be connected with and understand how they can contribute. So we find that this experience really works well for everyone. By bringing everyone together, we also begin to build those relationships and help everyone understand all aspects of the operation. Also, through the process of exploring and learning together, they learn about each other and their roles and how they are maybe contributing in different ways to the organization. So we really feel like bringing all of our employees together for that common experience helps them to understand the organization as a whole better, as well as, to get that common and consistent opportunity to really connect to our culture and strategy.
That sounds great. So I'll also sort of close this with a final thought here from me, and I want to thank everybody for participating in the webinar. I also want to thank Paradigm Learning for giving us that extra bit of publicity on our Talent Pulse research about onboarding, which we did earlier this summer, which led me to sort of give a plug for our upcoming Talent Pulse research, which is about first-time people leaders and how to give them support. So I want to pivot from that promotion to a question regarding first-time managers and whether or not there's an onboarding program for folks who are internal but taking on new responsibilities. And I'd love to hear your thoughts whether that's in existence or what sort of the policies, either from a Paradigm or Protiviti perspective, might be in place to support those who are engaging in a first-time opportunity to be a leader.
Sure, absolutely. So from a learning and development perspective, our Passport to Protiviti program really focuses on individuals who are new to our organization. And as we've mentioned, really focuses on helping them to understand the business and get connected, as well as complete activities to helping them integrate in our first year. For individuals who've been with our organization for some time and who change roles or who are promoted into new experiences, we do have additional learning experience as part of that continuum that focus on helping individuals prepare for those new roles and practice, really understanding what those job role changes will involve, as well as new skills and things that they'll need to tackle in that role. So those are called our challenge programs. And we do conduct those throughout the year as well, again, tied to those promotion cycles in preparation to help individuals prepare for their new roles. I don't know, Sarah, if you wanted to comment on that as well from a Paradigm point of view.
Sure. I mean, we agree with the necessity of doing that and, having something that can either build off of an initial program like this, because again, if you're coming into a new role as a new manager, a new leader, there are a lot of things that the organization needs from you, right? They need you to be in alignment with the overall direction, the goals, the mission, the vision, and all of those kinds of foundations that we talked about as part of what creates empowered new hires right out of the gate. That can really apply to new leaders as well, whether they're new or not. They might be existing within the organization, just promoted as a new leader instead of an individual contributor. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to build off of those same themes to really create a powerful experience for your new leaders where it's so daunting. First of all, we all know who've taken on that kind of experience and suddenly found yourself in charge of a team or, going through the different new responsibilities that suddenly arrive with becoming a new leader in the organization. So there's a lot of those same themes and messages that can be tailored or adapted to really suit them in their new role and in their needs so that they can take charge and, again, become more successful out of the gate as new leaders and in alignment with what the organization really needs from them. That's the key focus that we see.
Excellent. Well, I really commend everybody on the call for embracing this culture of continuous learning as a hallmark of organizations. I think it was really well represented here. And again, my thanks to each and every one of you on the panel today. It was really engaging for me to witness, and I'm sure our members feel the same way. So thank you all so much.
Great. Thank you.
And with that, I'll give a final thanks to our sponsor, Paradigm Learning, and of course, a big thank you to each and every one of our HCI members who've taken the time out of their day today. We look forward to seeing you all on another webcast soon. Enjoy the rest of the day, everybody, and let's make the most of it.